All right, we're going to get started designing our gumball machine in SketchUp. The whole purpose of this is to learn how the tools work, what the different tools do, so that eventually you can use SketchUp to design your own products. So again, the whole goal is when you're using these tools, think about what you're doing with the tools. Okay, obviously you're going to have to kind of go step by step to use the tools, but at the same time be thinking about the process behind this, not each individual step as you go, because eventually you will be designing your own products based on the knowledge that you have of the different SketchUp tools. Okay, so without anything further being said, I'm going to go under the drop down menu in SketchUp and select New. I am going to get rid of the person who is there. That person is put there just to show the initial scale of the drawing. Okay. One of the main ideas in design is that you need to have an idea of the size of the object that you're drawing. Okay. You don't want to design a house that is 300 feet long. Okay, because generally that's unrealistic. You don't want to design a gumball machine that's 80 feet tall. Okay, because again, that's just not realistic. So one of the important things in design software like this is using dimensions. All right, and that's going to be one of the big things that we focus on in everything that we draw. Okay, so we're going to start this process with the rectangle tool. I'm going to come down here, click at origin. Now another thing you need to understand in SketchUp is that we don't click and drag. Okay, that we click the mouse button and let go of the mouse button. And then we move the mouse. So I've clicked at origin. I now move the mouse into the area where I want to draw a rectangle. Now I'm going to type in the size that I want that rectangle to be. In this case, I want it to be 11 inches wide and 4 inches tall. So if you look down at the bottom corner of the screen, the bottom right hand corner, it'll say dimensions, and you can see where I've typed 11 comma 4. But also notice that I didn't put my mouse in there to type that. I just typed it. Okay? So I'm going to press escape and start over again. I click at origin, not dragging, so I click, move my mouse, I type in 11 comma 4, the comma separating the width from the depth in this case. And then the fourth thing I do is I press return. Oh my goodness, why is it so small? Well, again, if you think about that person standing there, a, a man's foot is about 10 to 12 inches long. So if you kind of put that into perspective of how big that rectangle is that we just drew, it's about what it is. Okay, well, that's really small to work with. So the next thing I'm going to do, and this is a keyboard shortcut that you're going to want to get used to. It's a very important one. It's Shift Z. Shift Z stands for Zoom Extents. Okay, so Shift Z will zoom me into what I've just drawn, but it'll keep the entire object on the screen. So none of it's off the screen, but it's as big as it can get without being off of the screen. Okay. Next tool I want to use is the Push-Pull tool. I'm going to use the Push-Pull tool. Again, not clicking and dragging anything. I select the surface that I want to pull. I then move my mouse the direction that I want to go. In this case is up. The next thing I do is I type the distance that I want to move it up. So in this case, it's 0.75. Or if you wanted to, you could type 3/4. You can use fractions or decimals, either one. So I type in 3/4, press return, and now the object is 3/4 of an inch thick. Okay. Shift Z again makes it a little bit smaller. Now I'm going to use the orbit tool to orbit and take a look at what I'm working with here. Okay, and that's what it should look like. At this point, I'm going to go ahead and click the Save button. I'm going to call this part the base. So I'm going to name it base and click OK. Then I'm going to take you into Google Drive. And I'm going to select the folder that I want to save this in. In this case, I want my 7th grade folder, which for some reason is not showing up. Oh, there it is. Okay, 7th grade. And this is the 3rd rotation, so I'm going to save it in 7.3. And I'll save it in the Gumball Machines and click select. So now up here it says it was saving, and now I see the name of it is called base. Okay, and then I'm ready to move on. So next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of orbit and zoom in to this area of the part. So I'm going to orbit around some. And then to zoom into that, I'm not going to put my cursor over here. When you zoom in, it zooms into your cursor. Okay, so if I put my cursor, this is the area that I want to zoom into. So I'm going to go actually just to the right of that, and I'm going to zoom in some. Oh, too much. And I want it about, let's say right there. Pretty close. Does yours have to look exactly like this? No. The point is you want to work with this area of your drawing. Okay, this face right here. All right. Next thing we're going to use is the tape measure tool. We use the tape measure tool to create guides. So I'm going to click on the tape measure. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to click somewhere on this top line. I do not want to be on a point of any kind. I want to be on an edge. Okay, see how this one, from point? When you have from point, that's not going to work. Okay, you need to be on an edge. So I'm going to click on the edge. I'm going to move the mouse down, and I'm going to come down 1/16 of an inch. So I'm going to type in 1/16. If it happens to just go to 1/16, you can click either way. So that time I typed in 1/16. This time I'm going to click on the guide, and I'm going to move down 1/16, 1/8, 3/16. So I want to move down 3/16, and then I'm going to click on that guide again, and I'm going to move down an additional 3/16. From the end line, okay, again, you can't be on an intersection. You need to be on an edge. And you're going to move over 3/16. And we're going to move over again 3/16. And I'm going to go ahead and save what I've done. Once you've named it, it doesn't take you into Google Drive. It just updates things. Now I'm going to get my line tool. I'm going to come right up here to my second guide in. So from the corner, not the first guide, but the second guide, and I'm simply going to draw a line from that intersection to this intersection right there. Okay, you want to go intersection to intersection. Then I'm going to click, and then I'm going to press escape. Escape stops drawing. All right. Now I'm going to go to the arc tool, and I want to make sure that I'm using the 2-point arc tool, which is the second arc tool down. So I'm going to get 2-point arc. With the 2-point arc tool, I'm going to click at the end of the line that I just drew. I'm going to go diagonal to the opposite corner of that square box to the intersection. I'm going to click a second time, and now I'm going to move my mouse up, and the curve begins to go up. This is known as the bulge. If you look at the lower right-hand corner where we type in sizes, that's known as the bulge. Okay, we're going to make this bulge 3/64 of an inch. I'm going to press return. I'm then going to draw another arc. So from the end of this arc, I'm going to go diagonal again. And this time I'm going to move in or down, and I'm going to type in 3/64 and press enter again. Right. I'm going to come over here, hit the save button. Now I want to get rid of these guidelines. I'm done with them. Okay, so over here you have some different palettes. Over here are different tools. So this is your toolbox. Over here are your palettes. Okay, so I'm going to go into the display palette, and when I click on that, right there is a button that says delete all guides. Do not turn off the check mark. If you turn off the check mark, your guides will never show up. So you might be trying to create guides and they're not showing up, maybe because you accidentally uncheck that box. Do not uncheck that box. What you want to do is you want to click on delete all guides. So I will click that. The guides are done, so I'm going to go ahead and collapse my palette by clicking on this arrow right here. And now what I'm left with are these two shapes. Okay. So I'm going to orbit and zoom out kind of so I see the whole part. So again, zooming is a matter of taking your two fingers on your trackpad. Don't push the trackpad. Just move your fingers forward and back, not in and out like on your phones. It's not like a pinch in zoom type of thing. No, on a computer, it's two fingers on the trackpad. Move your fingers up and down to zoom in and out. Okay. Now, this shape that I've drawn here, if I get the push-pull tool and I push this, it makes this nice decorative edge on the end, which is kind of cool. But the problem with that is it doesn't turn corners, and I want that decorative edge all the way around the object. Okay, so I have to use a different tool for that. It's in the same tool palette, but instead of the push-pull tool, I'm going to use the one right underneath it, which is called Follow Me. With the Follow Me tool, this is where things can change between a Mac, Windows, Chromebook. Okay, so I'm going to direct your attention down here when I start using the tool. Okay, first of all, this tool is trying to give you directions. It says select the face that you want to extrude. So I'm going to come up here. This is the face that I want to extrude. So I click on it. Next, it says drag face to extrude, but then it says command equals face perimeter. Now, this is where things are going to be different. If you're on a Mac, it's going to say command equals face perimeter. If you're on a Chromebook, I believe it's going to say control equals face perimeter. If you are on a Windows machine, I believe it's going to say alt equals face perimeter. You have to look, depending on what computer you're using, and see what it says. In my case, it says command equals face perimeter. So what that means is I'm going to hold the command key down. Problem is if you're on a Chromebook, you don't have a command key. That's not going to work for you. So you have to look and see what key that says there. Mine says command. So I'm going to hold the command down, and then I'm holding the command key down. I then move my cursor to the top of the object. Okay, I didn't click it. I just moved my cursor up there, and I get this thing that goes all the way around. Then I click. Still holding the command key down, I click. And it takes that shape and it takes it all the way around the outside edge. Okay. Now again, depending on the platform that you're working on, the key that you hold down is going to be different. So you need to look down at the bottom of the screen where I was showing you to determine what key that is. I believe on a Chromebook, which is what most of you are using, I believe it's going to be the control key, but you do need to look. I'm not using a Chromebook, so I have no way of knowing what it's going to say. So it's something you have to look for. Okay. And at this point, I'm going to go ahead and click Save. Make sure that it saves, which now it says saved, which means it's saved. And we're done with the base.